Hey, what's up, everybody? Good evening. I hope that you can hear me. I hope that you can see me okay. Listen, I am so excited about this new revamp. I'm excited about the new show. So, y'all come on in. Let's have this conversation. This time, the conversation is about me. So, come on in. Make sure that you share the broadcast. Make sure that you get everybody in here. Share the link. Let's talk. Let's talk, Jen. Welcome to Let's Talk, Jen. I am Jen. I am Jennifer Roberson. Some of you know me as PJ. Some of you know me as J Roberson. But I am Jennifer Roberson. I am the CEO and founder of Let's Talk Jen. And it's time for you guys to get to know me for who I am so that you can kind of get a background about why the show came about and what this is all about. This is not your typical show. I know that there are a lot of shows out there. There are a lot of shows that have people come on and talk about their businesses and talk about what they do. But this particular show, it's not a podcast. This is a show that is pre recorded. I wanted to do this live, of course, because this is not just my vision. This is not just something that I came up with. I know that it may seem like I did, but I had God's help in all of this. And even though I had planned to pre-record this and I had planned to do all of these different things, God was like, "No, I need you to go live." And there's a story behind that as well. So let's get started. I want to kind of introduce the show, kind of let you guys know what this show is all about. We will be doing this every single Friday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Now, it's not just going to be me, it's going to be my guests. They're going to share their stories, their testimonies, how they made it through to where they are right now. I'm so excited about the guests that have already done their shows. You guys, you're gonna need tissue. You're gonna be cheering. You're gonna be doing all of that because the stories are amazing, and this is just the beginning. So if you are interested in telling your story, please get in contact with Divine Appointment Marketing and Consulting Firm. They are absolutely amazing. They have helped me put this together and they will help you with all of your business needs. If you're a business owner, they do flyers, they do graphics, they help you get your business started. So you'll know, those of you that are fresh to this, those of you that have just started your business, they are amazing at doing what they do to help you get started. So check them out, look them up on Facebook, look them up on Instagram. That is Divine Appointment Marketing and Consulting Firm. So now that we have gotten all of that out of the way, I am excited. Listen, I'm so excited to talk to you guys and let you know about me. I am the mastermind behind Let's Talk Jen. I will say that this is something that I did not think that I was going to be doing. I was introduced into media. I would say probably 2 or 3 years now. It was right before the pandemic. I was in a place where I was just kind of like, okay, Lord, I'm a little bit bored here. I've been in the medical field for over 20 years. I know it's kind of like, do what now? 20 years? You can't. Yeah. I've been in the medical field for over 20 years and I was bored with what I was doing. I didn't I wasn't fulfilled in what I was doing. So I was like, okay, God, what is it that you want me to do? And literally his response to me was, go live. I want you to go live. And I was like, go live doing what? Because I like still photos. I like still pictures. I'm not a motion. I'm not a video person, but here I am. I have my own show. I do things. I'm actually a pastor, the e-campus pastor, mind you, of God's Nation Denton. Shout out to my God's Nation Denton family. I love y'all. Hey, Tiffany, I see you on here. Thank you, babe. Um, And I'm doing it. I'm doing exactly what the Lord has asked me to do. So, what better way to start His vision by going live like He instructed me to do? So, I do see your comments. I do see you as you pop on. Say hello. If you have any questions that you want me to answer, now is your chance. You can interview me now as I tell my story. Because this next season, of episodes, I'm telling you, it is going to be amazing. The stories are so dope, and I love each and every person that has already done their show and those that are coming up, because I know that God has a blessing in telling your story, telling your testimony. We are supposed to be a witness. That's one of the things that we have been created to do, other than, of course, worshiping Him and just giving Him the glory, talking about Jesus. That is what we do. But we also share our testimonies, share our stories. And my story, oh God, I've been kind of hidden. I'm always in the background. I've never been the type of person that loves to be in the front, in the forefront. I've always been in the background. I've always been the type of person that will push you to do what you need to do. But of course, when it comes to me, I'm kind of like, I'm okay. But it is time out for that. So I love the fact that God is changing me. He is molding me. He is pushing me past my limits, past my comfort zone. So again, I want you guys to share this with your family, with your friends. Put this on Facebook, put this on Instagram. Exclusively YouTube will be where the show is, of course. But and I thank you too for allowing me to do this. I'm praying and I believe that something big is going to come out of this. So I'm all for it. Whoever watches this, whoever sends this to someone, whoever invests, whoever sponsors, listen, I'm here. I am here. So, speaking of sponsorships, if you would love to be on the show, if you would love to sponsor an episode or the show, please again get in contact with Divine Appointment Marketing and Consulting Firm. They will get you the information that you need. All right, y'all. So let's get into this. So where do I begin? Well, let's start from the beginning. I was born December 23rd, 1983. Yeah, you can do the math. December 23rd, 1983 to Christina Moore. My mom was 13 when she had me. And due to family obligations and, stuff that I'm still learning as of today, she had to give me up for adoption. And I absolutely love her for not aborting, because there are so many young mothers at that age that do, or that are forced to for whatever reason. And I believe that she is the strongest person that I know to carry someone for 9 months, knowing that she may never see her child again. But she did. I met my mom. Oh gosh, I met my mom. It's been almost 2 years now, or yeah, it's been about 1 or 2 years. And I absolutely love her. I see where I get my personality from. I see where I get my looks from. My mom is absolutely beautiful. And I appreciate everything that she has done thus far. I'm still learning. That story is still being written. So just stay tuned for that. But yes, I was adopted. And I was adopted into a 2-parent home, great home, to Christine and Ray Roberson. They raised me from 6 months old until now. Until I was grown and had my own kids, I'll say that. And they loved me. They loved me. They took care of me. They raised me to be strong, to be independent, to be smart. And I didn't realize it then, why they were so, at that time, I thought they were strict, that they were just, putting the hammer down all the time. I couldn't do anything, couldn't go anywhere. But looking back, they were preparing me for what I'm walking into right now. Being strong, being able to hold my own, being able to take care of myself, and my children. And I thank God for them, because my mom, my adoptive mom, she is the strongest person. Oh my goodness. She's so strong. She's so strong in how she does her finances, how she does all of her life. Now, mind you, they were older. They were in their 40s when they got me. And a lot of times growing up, when I was going to school, everybody thought that they were my grandparents. And it was funny to me at first, because I was like, no, these are not my grandparents. These are my parents. But looking back, it was like, okay, well, yeah, they were a little older than most people would have thought. But yes, they waited until they were stable. They waited until they were ready. And I thank God for that, because I got a lot from them. Now, I did looking back, I always thought, like I said, that they were strict, that they wouldn't let me do anything. They wouldn't let me go anywhere. But I understand that they were protecting me. I understand that they didn't want me to deal with a lot of the things that they dealt with growing up. Um, I will say that I was a very sneaky adult, or not, excuse me, it's very sneaky teenager into my adulthood, because I felt like I had to get out and explore. If they weren't gonna let me do it, I was gonna do it myself. I was gonna find out. And that got me into some trouble. I will say that, but I thank God for how they raised me, because if you think about it, a lot of adoptive parents, um, they're very strict, or they're very money hungry when it comes to raising adoptive kids. You find very few that are really into raising their children that are not theirs, that they didn't have physically. So I was very fortunate in all of that. Did they tell you right off that you were adopted? Not right off. I found out when I was in elementary. I believe I was in the third grade. It was either third or fourth grade. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever, that I had two sets of parents, because that's how I looked at it. But my parents that I didn't know, they were, I had to go find them. So my whole teenage and young adult life, I was so adamant about trying to find them. But when they told me, it was right before my birthday. And I went to school and I told all of my friends. I told everybody that I possibly could tell, because I thought that was the coolest thing. Didn't know what adopted meant. Had no clue what it meant to be adopted. And once I found out what it was and I got an understanding about what it was, that excitement kind of went down for me. And it was more of a, well, why? Why did she give me up? What was the issue? What was wrong with me? Why didn't she want me? My mom did not know how old my birth mother was at the time. They really didn't know anything about her. So the questions that I had, they really couldn't answer for me. So one of my things was, I'm going to find my mom. I'm going to find out who my dad is. I'm going to find out what happened, because I want to know. And it was tough, because I was trying to find, okay, now that I know that I'm adopted, and I know I was older when I realized what being adopted meant. So I struggled with identity. I struggled with, who am I? I'm not a part of this family through their bloodline, and then I have this person over here that I have no clue about. What diseases am I carrying? And, what are my kids gonna, what are they gonna look like? Are they gonna look like me? Are they gonna look like their dad? Are they gonna look like somebody that I don't even know? What's going on? Like, I had so many different emotions, so many different questions about my blood family. Um, and as I got older, I realized that, it's important to know your roots. It's important to know your background, but who you are right now is what matters. Who you grew up to be, who you are destined to be is what matters the most. So I stuck with that until I was old enough to do some research and find out who my people were. Um, in middle school and high school, well, I'll start in middle school. Middle school, I was teased because my parents, they had me going through elementary at a predominantly white school. So I was educated, but because I talked white, I got teased in middle school. So I always had this self-esteem. I always carried this self-esteem that I was never good enough, or that, okay, well, nobody likes me. And I hated, absolutely hated going to a particular class, because most of those students in that class, those were the ones that were talking about how I dressed, how I talked. Um, and looking back, one of the girls, we had caught up years ago, and she said, the reason they really hated you was because you were so pretty, and all the boys were talking about you and they wanted you. It had nothing to do with how you talked. And yeah, you talked different from us because you were raised totally different from us. But it had nothing to do with that. It was because they were jealous. Well, me being young, I knew none of that. So it affected me to the point where I did have low self-esteem. I did have insecurities that I didn't even know were insecurities at the time. I just knew that I was very quiet. I had my friends. I had my two to three friends, Candace and April. Hey y'all, I know that y'all are watching. But those were the ones in middle school that I stuck with. And to this day, we still talk. We're sisters. But I never was the type of person that was always in the crowd. I was always in the background. And as I got older, I started picking up on different things. And um, when I came into myself, I was probably in, oh gosh, in ninth, 10th grade, because then people started saying, because of the way I wore my hair, I had the Halle Berry cut. And everybody was like, oh, she looks like Halle Berry. Oh, she's this, she's that. And it took me, I was like, who is this Halle Berry? So I had to look her up. And Boomerang was my movie. I must say, Boomerang was my movie, because I was like, oh, she's gorgeous. Okay, so everybody think I look like her, so I'm doing good. So I took that and I ran with it, not knowing that, that's just how people saw me. They saw me as a pretty face. They saw me as, oh, she's so sweet, she's so quiet, she's so friendly, but not knowing that inside I was trying to please, and I was trying to get people to like me. So it's crazy. It's crazy now that I think about it. But hey, Shan, I see you. Thank you so much for supporting. Yes, right. 2 to 3. I look, 2 to 3. That 3 was kind of swinging a little bit, but 2 for sure. But I remember in high school, I wanted to. I'll go back to middle school. Middle school, I was in the band, and I was also in sports. Like, I loved both. I loved playing my clarinet. I loved basketball. I loved running track. Loved volleyball. Very athletic person. And when I got to high school, I was like, okay, I have to make a decision, because they're not going to let me do both. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was like, I know that I want to go to John Tyler. It was John Tyler at the time. They're called Tyler High now, but I want to go to John Tyler and I want to be a drum major. Oh, hey, P Mac, I'm sorry. My bad. Thank you, sis. I wanted to be a drum major. And I was like, because they are so cool. And I just knew that it was going to be like a Grand Prairie View type thing. When I was a senior, I was going to be doing all types of different things. I was going to change the game. That was my plan when I got to high school. So I decided, I'm just going to put the sports down. Not going to worry about it. It's going to be fine. I'm going to get my way. And got to high school and was first chair clarinet pretty much all the way through. And got to my junior year, tried out for drum major, and every year they had three drum majors. And my junior year, I made fourth. I was the fourth one. I was like, dang, I almost got it. My senior year, I was like, oh, it's in the bag. I got this. My senior year, I studied. I did everything that I was supposed to do and got to the tryouts, did great. I was so proud of myself. And that was year they decided they were going to only have two. And guess what number I was? So I lost it. I was so upset. I felt like I wasted all of my time trying to do this, trying to reach this goal. And I could have been playing basketball. I could have been running track. I could have been making money doing this over here. And I decided I wanted to do this. So it took me into this. Okay, you know what? I don't like this. I don't like the fact that I can't get what I want. It was very emotional. So in my college, leading up to college, I dealt with things and I got into things that I knew I shouldn't have. I was we would take trips to Six Flags as a group. And of course, us being kids, I would go into the gift shop and I would just get what I want. Not paying for anything. I'm just gonna get what I want and y'all ain't gonna miss it. I would hang around with people that I knew would be troublemakers. I was trying to find myself and doing it in the wrong way. So then when I started having sex, I lost my virginity in 9th grade. And I just thought that I was dating a senior at the time. I felt like he was the best thing that had ever happened to me. And I knew that's who I wanted to be with. Oh Lord, how naive we can be. Okay. I just knew that, I pulled me a senior. I can do this. I can do that. No, that was not the case. Do I regret it? I wish I had waited. I wish I had have taken my time and not been so starstruck at the fact that he was a senior. But yeah, if my daughter would come, if she comes to me and is like, "Hey, mom, I'm dating this guy and he's this," listen, wait, honey, make sure that you know that you know that you know, and wait till you're married. If you listen, temptation, oh God, I'm pushing the marriage. Okay, get married first. Pushing the marriage. Oh Jesus, 5 finger up. Yes, I was. I thank God for deliverance. Amen. But yeah, I just finding my identity has always been something that I struggled with. And that was sex was one of those things. It made me feel like somebody wanted me. It made me feel like somebody desired me, that somebody wanted to be with me. And as I got older, it really didn't. In those moments, let's just be real. Let's just be honest. When you have sex with somebody, you as a woman, most I'll just say most of us, we do our feelings are involved. So I was just thinking that, okay, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with this person, or I'm gonna be with this person forever. And it was never the case. Um, and it made me feel some type of way. Growing up in church, being growing up Baptist and learning about God and reading the Bible, I knew that what I was doing was not right. Um, but it was like, but I feel wanted. I feel good. Like why am I dealing with this? So I went to college, started out at a junior college and went through that college year, and I was, whoo, Lord, I was very promiscuous. Um, I was doing things that I knew I shouldn't have been doing. Um, in a crowd that I knew I shouldn't have been hanging around. Um, but the validation and the compliments and just being a part of something was what I longed for. Um, and I met a guy that I believe I was in my freshman year of college. Um, and he played football. He was, I think, a junior at the time at this one of the bigger colleges. Um, and he was home for the holidays, and we dated for a few months. And I really felt like this guy was the guy. He was really sweet, really nice. At least I thought he was. And one day he invited me over to his dad's house because he was home for the holidays. And we had just got done watching him play. I had my family all together. We watching football on Thanksgiving. And I told him, hey, he's playing football. Let's support. That's how serious it was to me. And that weekend, his dad was gone. We were there, and it didn't feel right at that moment. And I should have went by. Should have taken that as a sign to run, but I did not. And I went, and we talked, we laughed, we did what couples do. And he approached me, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that right now. And it got aggressive. It got very, very aggressive. And at first I just kind of laughed it off and was like, you're so crazy. But he was serious. He was trying to have sex with me, and I was not. And he grabbed me and he told me, he said, no. He said, I'm I'm finna get some. I was like, no, you're not. And in that moment, when he grabbed me, I was just kind of like, oh snap. Okay, so what do I do? And I couldn't, for the life of me, I could not scream. It was like my whole body went limp, like I was paralyzed. And in my mind, I was like, if I could just scream, somebody would hear me. Well, nobody heard me. And I was raped by somebody that I trusted, somebody that I thought had my best interests, that cared about me. And that was the worst moment in my life because I felt like a piece of me was stripped. A piece of me had died that day. Um, I felt like I was dirty. I felt like nobody was going to believe me if I told them, so I kept it to myself. I felt like if I told my mom, she would blame me. I felt like I can't say anything because he's this big football player and it would ruin his college career. I felt alone in those years. I would say years because it affected my relationships going forward. And I'm just now I would say I let it go a couple of years ago because I had to forgive. I had to let that go. But nobody knew that. Nobody. I've talked about it to very 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 few people, maybe one or two people, but actually sharing that story. This is the first time I've ever shared it. And it is a freeing experience because there are so many Black women that are out there that deal with rape, that deal with being molested, that deal with the things that they can't talk about because it's a family member or it's somebody of power. And you don't have to do that. You can speak up. And you don't have to let it cage you in. You don't have to let it keep you from being who it is that God has created you to be. How did you look at the relationship after that? Oh, there was no relationship. What saved me was that his dad, his dad came home, and as soon as I heard that door open, it was almost like I had strength all of a sudden. And I pushed him off of me and I ran out of that house. And his dad was just kind of like, hey, what's going on? And I heard him ask, what's going on? But I did not turn around. I didn't say anything to him. I grabbed my keys and I got in my car and I got out of there as fast as I possibly could. I don't know if he told his dad or not. I didn't ask. I didn't care. That was my out and I took it. I found out later that he ended up, years later, he ended up going to jail behind some other stuff. But then I was just kind of like, in that moment, I was like, yes. But I had to be like, no, I can't do that. People that do bad things and they intentionally do bad things, if they don't repent or ask for forgiveness, their time is coming. They're going to pay for what they've done. I never got an apology. I don't think I spoke to him at all after that happened. After I ran out, I didn't hear from him again. And it bothered me a little bit because I was like, how can you say you care about somebody? How can you say that you want to be with somebody when you intentionally do something and you know you hurt me? And you don't apologize. You don't call to say you're sorry. You don't try to get in touch with me. Nothing. I got none of that. So I had to deal with that years later because it hardened my heart. And I was like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Like I'm done with it. Few years later, I met a guy, and the weirdest thing, met this guy. I was coming out from work. I used to work at a store called Goodies in Tyler, and I was walking to my car at the end of my shift. Now, mind you, I'm on the phone with somebody, and this guy just circles the parking lot to come talk to me. So I'm looking, and I'm like, what is going on with this man? I was like, listen, if you hear me scream, because I think I was talking to one of my friends at the time. I said, listen, this man is circling this parking lot and he's watching me. I said, if you hear me scream, if you hear me, don't you hang up. You call, you wait until you don't hear me no more. You call the police. She laughed. She laughed at me. She was like, are you serious? I was like, yes. I said, this man is following me and I don't know what's going to happen. So he pulls up to the car and he's like, oh my God. He was like, I normally don't do this. He's like, I'm sorry if I scared you, but you are just so beautiful. And I'm looking at him like, bruh, okay. And at this moment, I'm just kind of like, okay, what do I do? Do I get in my car? Do I run? Like, hey, are you still on the phone? And I was just kind of like, who is this man? And who sent you? Like, what? Who stopped somebody in the parking lot to talk to them? So I was like, okay, I still have my friend on the phone. So I'm like, I'll play along. Hey, Toy, I see you. Thank you so much for joining. So I play along, and he says, I don't do this. This is not me, but can I have your number? And I was like, in my mind, I was like, no, I don't know you. But I gave it to him. I was like, are you crazy? And my friend was like, what are you doing? Now, mind you, my thought was to give him a fake number. No, I gave him my real number. And he called me as soon as I got in the car. And we talked the whole way home. He was my first marriage. And looking back, the feelings that I felt were real. I was in love with him. He was everything that I thought I wanted at that moment. But the intention was not, it wasn't the right intentions, because I was still at home and I was dealing with my parents. At that moment I was 19, 20, and I'm just like, okay, I need more freedom. I need to be able to do stuff. I'm working now, I'm in school, I'm doing good. I should be able to come home whenever I get ready. That's my mindset, but I'm still living at home. So this marriage was a way out. That's how I looked at it. I was like, okay, I'll finally be grown. I'll finally be able to do what I want to do, and I'll be good, and I'll have a man that's going to love me because he's going to be my husband. No, that wasn't the case. Married him. I met him in June. This is so funny. Met him in June. Got engaged in August of the same year. Whew. June of 2007, I believe. Yeah. 2007, June 2007, got engaged August of 2007 and married him March 2008. Now, mind you, we didn't have sex. He was a minister at the time, so that was perfect. I was like, okay, God, I'm gonna do this right. I'm not gonna have sex with him. I'm not going to. We would date. Oh my God, he wined and dined me. He, was so romantic, and did everything that we were supposed to do as far as not having sex, being abstinent until we got married. And got married, had an amazing honeymoon in San Antonio. Everything was great. He planned out everything. And got home. Now, mind you, I knew nothing about this man. Maybe 6 to 8 months. And got home, got back to reality after the honeymoon phase had ended, and started noticing some things about him. He was very controlling. He didn't want me to have kids. He didn't want kids. He wanted me to be a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home wife that cooked, that cleaned, that did everything that he wanted me to do. I had to wear certain clothes. I couldn't be around my family. I couldn't be around my friends. Now, mind you, we're living in Irving at the time, so I'm like, oh, I'm finna wild out. I'm finna have some fun. I'm finna live. I'm finna do this. No, that was not the case. And I didn't find out all of this until I didn't find out that he wanted kids until we had sat down and had the conversation. And I finally told him. I remember it like it was yesterday. We were sitting in a Subway that was down the street from the apartment that we stayed in. And I just let him, I let him talk. And then I talked and I said, listen, I'm not feeling this. This is not what I thought marriage was about, how it's supposed to be. I'm not happy. I want to work. I want to have fun. I want to be around my family. I want to be around my friends. This is not what I want to do. I want to have kids. Like, I want to feel like I'm doing something other than cooking your meals and being a housewife. I was bored to death. Like, I knew from jump that I was always an energetic person. So I wanted to always do stuff. Working, I had no problem working at all. And being in that marriage, he didn't want me to work. So I was bored to death. I didn't watch a whole lot of TV. I stopped doing a lot of the things that I enjoyed doing because he wasn't pleased with that. We were real heavy. And what's crazy to me, what blows my mind, is that we were real heavy in church at that time, too. He had introduced me to a church that I now will forever love. Shout out to Children's Deliverance Temple in Marshall, Texas. I absolutely love the family. Got into a church that the chief apostle's grandson is over. So it's funny how God just brings you right on around where you're supposed to be. But I found out who God was in that situation. And it was hard for me to leave that situation because I had grown in God. And I was like, okay, am I supposed to stay in this because I know who God is and I know how he looks at marriage? And it was one of those things that, yeah, we prayed about it. Yeah, we did everything right from the book and from the world standpoint, as far as we dated, he proposed, he got my mom and dad's blessing. We had this huge wedding that, by the way, I had no control over. Wasn't the type of dress that I wanted, wasn't the type. I was just there. I just showed up and I married this man. The only thing that I wanted to do was the honeymoon. The honeymoon was our plan. That was all us. So I was just kind of like, okay, God, what do I need to do in this situation? And he said, why did you marry him? And the intention, it was good for me at that moment, but it wasn't a God intention. So we had the talk. I let him know, listen, this is not what I want. I feel like I'm a caged bird in this relationship. And he told me what he wanted. He told me what he didn't want. And I always dreamed of having kids. And I don't know why triplets was in my mind, but I haven't had any triplets and I really don't want no triplets. But at that moment, he was a twin. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll have multiples. Get him in, get him out, at the same time. So it was a whole, my plan, my thing, what I wanted to do instead of finding out what God's plan was. So I wanted to live. Absolutely. I wanted to live. And I felt like I was not given that opportunity. He wouldn't even let me do things with the church. He said I was too friendly. I flirted too much. And I'm like, wait a minute. These are your people. You introduced me to them. So it was a weird situation. And I was like, you know what? I'm done with it. It was the hardest decision that I had to make because we lived really well. He worked at the airport. He was making good money. I didn't have to work, but I wanted to because I wanted, just something that I wanted to do. I always wanted to do. But I wasn't happy. I didn't feel like I was fulfilled. I couldn't praise God like I wanted to. I wasn't able to participate in any of the things that they had going on. So I was like, what's the point? So got the divorce. That was it was a really hard blow for me. Because I believed in marriage. I still do. Believed in marriage. I believe that I was doing the right thing, but it just felt like I disappointed God in that moment because there was no fight on either end. He understood. I found out later that he had been married multiple times. I found out probably 5 or 6 years ago, that he had a child. So that was a slap in the face because I was like, well, when you were married to me, you didn't want kids. But that's beside the point. I dealt with that. And then right when I came home, I came back home, was living with my parents. And at that moment, they were cleaning out their house. They were making room for me. So we had this garage sale. All my aunts were there, and everybody was welcoming me home, and they were so glad that I came home because they didn't want me to get married either. I found that out. They didn't want me to get married. They didn't want me to be with him because they could tell that I changed, and they didn't like it. So, went through that, and that's how I met my second husband. Was him and his mom. They came to the garage sale, and when I saw him, I was kind of like, "Oh, okay, I remember you. You didn't look like that in high school, but hey." So, reconnected. That following day, I saw him at church. I grew up with him. Never thought that I would be married to him ever. That never crossed my mind. But I grew up with him. We rode the same bus together, went to the same school, and he had went away for a while and came back home. And I was like, oh, okay, he looks kind of nice. So my messy auntie over here was like, oh, so what you got going? I said, I just noticed who that was, and he looks nice. Mm-hmm. So the following day, her little messy self goes to church and tells him the conversation that we had. So he finds out that I'm interested. He comes up to me. We exchange numbers, and yeah, we got married. Had my two beautiful children, Donovan and Madison, who are now 14 and 12. And that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But yeah. How did you take wanting a divorce? Oh God, I didn't. I didn't want the divorce. I felt like it was detrimental. I felt like God was not going to be happy with me. I felt like I had forfeited my salvation. That's how deep it was. I was hard on myself. I had actually forgiven myself when the divorce was final, and I released it. Like I was like, okay, I'm okay. We're good. And when I got my divorce from that relationship, that's when I met Donovan and Madison's dad. And in that moment, I still had my values. I still was like, I'm not going to do. I'm gonna do the same thing. Like we're gonna wait. I don't want to have my mind thinking something and it's not gonna work. It sounded good, but Donovan came 9 months after my divorce was final, and he came 9 months after my divorce was final, and I was so devastated. I knew that my parents were gonna put me out. I remember that day like it was yesterday. As soon as I got the test results, I went to my friend's house and I cried my eyes out. And I said, if they put me out, can I come back over here? And she said, absolutely. And I just felt so defeated in that moment because I felt like I'm right back in the situation that I just got out of. Like I'm stuck with this person now. There's no way I can get out of this. The only other thing I could do is marry. I went through, oh gosh, probably 4 years of a lot of mess. Donovan was born. Madison came 2 years after that. In the midst of all of that, there was infidelity. There was, well, I can't say infidelity. There was a lot of cheating. There were children conceived in between my two children. And this was all before we got married. And the misconception was that I believed that he was supposed to be my husband. I had dreams. He confirmed those dreams. He said that, God had showed him that we were supposed to get married, that we were supposed to do this and do that, and everything was going to be whatever. And I didn't deny that. But it's funny how God can show you something about someone, but when it's in regards to someone, they have to be on the same page as you. And that was the difference. God didn't lie. He didn't tell me that, well, he said that, yeah, that's your husband. This is the life that you will live. Yes, I was supposed to be a preacher's wife. I was supposed to be this. We were supposed to have that. But when that person doesn't want that life, then what do? I had the decision to make. And after 9 years of a marriage, 13 years of being together, my insecurities coming back up, my feeling like I'm not good enough was starting to resurface again. And I remember a promise that I made to God that I would, in my next marriage, that I would fight. I would not give up so easily. I would fight for my marriage. And that's why I say be careful what you pray for. Because that marriage, I fought with as much strength as I possibly could. And it wasn't about me fighting. It was about me trusting and believing that God was going to work and was going to change. I felt like I had to do something. I felt like if I did this, then he would love me more. If I did this, he would see God. If I did this, it was all predicated on me. Do you know what type of weight that is? I didn't realize it until I started to see a change. Started to see things within me happen. And I was growing my relationship with God, and he wasn't. So there was a wedge that was being put in between us. He felt like I left him behind when I was like, no, I heard the voice of God and I'm following the voice of God. You can do the same thing. We can do this together. And he chose not to. So I had to deal with, again, why am I not good enough? What am I not doing? And God had to finally tell me, it's not about you. Did you do everything that you were supposed to do? No, you didn't. Because when you would pray to me, you got in the way of that prayer. Yes, you were in your prayer closet, you read, you studied. I had a good time with you because you made time for me, but did you listen to anything that I told you? Did you trust me in those moments? And I had to sit back and be like, oh God, no, I didn't. So got the divorce. That was a hard divorce because now there's children involved. Now there's time invested. Now there's a whole lifestyle that has to be torn apart. And I was like, Lord, what happened this time? He said the exact same thing. You were in the way. Yes, you prayed. You waited until you got your answer, but you still didn't do everything you were supposed to. You wanted to win. It was a competition to you because of what was going on outside of your relationship. I was like, okay, Lord. I said, well, you know what? If it's meant for me to be single, then that's just what that is. Because my heart can't take this. I cannot. Yes, you got to be careful. I'm telling you, that is very heavy. And I'm still healing. This happened. My divorce was final in October of 21. And I'm still healing. I'm still dealing with, did I make the right decision? Yes. because I'm free, not in a sense of I'm not married anymore, but the oppression that I put on myself, from the shame, from the discouragement, from feeling that I wasn't good enough, that I had to step outside of myself to please somebody else, knowing everything that I knew. I still stayed in that situation when God told me to leave. It's time to go, baby. Don't. It's okay. You held up your end of the bargain. You don't have to do this anymore. But God, you showed me this. You told me about this. We're supposed to be doing this. You're right. You are. But he doesn't want it. I didn't force you. I'm not going to force him. And you can't force him either. That was a hard pill for me to swallow. It was very hard for me to swallow. But I put my big girl panties on and I moved forward. I picked up my life, picked up my children, and we moved to Denton, like literally on faith. Didn't have anything but my car and my last paycheck from my last job. That paycheck lasted me a good month and a half. He still helped us get where I needed to be, but I was homeless for the first 6 months that I came to Denton. Moved here in January, found a job in February, moved into my apartment January the 1st of 2022. And I just thank God that for the growth, because never once did I think I was going to be homeless. Never once did I think I was going to be divorced again. Never once did I think I was going to be a single parent. Like, I just felt like this was my family. This was what I wanted. And a lot of times the things that we want, it may not necessarily be what God wants. So you have to take that. God sees your heart. He knows your desires. He knows what you want. He knows you. But a lot of the things that we put ourselves through is unnecessary. And I'm learning that. I would have never thought I was going to be a pastor. I always thought I was going to be married to one. And here I am, pastoring an e-campus church, being a part of a leadership team that is so phenomenal, learning about my prophetic gift, learning about what it means to be a woman of God, to be a child of God, to walk in my purpose, to walk in my gifts. It's absolutely amazing. Was my journey hard? Yeah. Would I do it again? Not if I don't have to. But knowing what I know now, if I had to do it again, I would make better choices. I'll say that. I'll make better choices. But I'm grateful because my journey has brought me to where I am now, being able to tell my story to millions of people that I don't even know, hoping that my story will allow you to tell your story and be saved from it, change your life. Because that's what this is what this show is all about. And you'll get to see that. But I had to start this season with my story, because what good is it that I'm interviewing everybody else and I haven't been able to tell my story? So I hope and I pray that someone is changed. I see the comments, and as you watch, you can definitely comment. I will definitely respond. But yeah, I needed to do this. This is not for me. It's for you. It's not meant for you to be single. I see marriage, and I believe this time it will be the last. Yes, ma'am, Prophetess Cox. I know you're gonna kill me for that, but yes, I do believe that marriage is my ministry. I just have to make sure that I'm listening and following instructions this time, and not getting in the way. Um, and that's a message in itself. Don't let your feelings and your emotions be a distraction for what you know that God is promising you. Because he's not going to put you in a situation that's going to hurt you. We do that on our own. So I love you. But listen, y'all, that is my time. I pray that my story has has changed your life, has given you inspiration, has pushed you to give your story, to look at things a little bit different. Trust God. Trust God in everything that you do. Trust God in the hard times, not just the easy times, not just in the times where you're in a good mood, but trust Him in everything. When you're not feeling it, when you don't want to be around people. I hate to tell you, but being around people is your ministry. That's what we were created to do, to save souls. So I my plan is not to preach, but if the Lord leads me to use this platform as I use my gift and as He molds me, then that's what that is. I'm going to walk in that. But I do hope and I pray that those of you that want to be on the show, you reach out to Divine Appointment Marketing and Consulting Firm. They will get you the information that you need. And I have spots available. Okay. Season 1 is going to be fire. Why? Because you're going to be on the show. So I love y'all. Thank y'all so much for participating. Thank you so much for watching. And it's going to be amazing. So take this journey with me. All right. Y'all have an amazing evening. Deuces.